Welcome! I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí, and in this video I want to be sharing all kinds of interesting stuff, I hope interesting for you, about imagination for musicians and why it is absolutely essential for you to develop your imagination skills. If we haven't met yet, I'm just really briefly, I'm a professional violinist and a coach for musicians of all kinds. I work with professionals, not just violinists either. I work with musicians that play any instrument, any skill level, professionals, also amateurs. And my specialty is based on the Alexander technique because I am also a certified Alexander technique teacher. The Alexander technique is simply it's a fantastic and proven mind-body technique to help you improve skills, to overcome pain, anxiety. It helps you calm your nervous system, performance anxiety. The Alexander technique is really amazing. And I teach a very special kind of Alexander technique called Primal Alexander, developed by my partner Mio Morales, which does not use touch. So you may have heard of the Alexander technique, you may have had Alexander technique lessons in the past, but they were probably, at least pre-pandemic, they were probably through touch. And that's how I was trained. I was traditionally trained and I taught with my hands for a long time. But I stopped doing that and now I teach exclusively without touch and online because I find Primal Alexander to be incredible. It goes to the root of the Alexander technique, the origins, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but I want you to know that my method, the Art of Freedom method, is based on the foundations of the Alexander technique principles, and the practical way of delivering my method, a big part of it is through Primal Alexander. So I do private coaching for musicians and I have group programs online, self-study courses, the whole deal. And after I talk to you about our topic today, which is imagination for musicians, I'm going to share a little with you about my current program. Registration is over August 20th for my 5-week introductory program. So if you're curious about that, stick around and I'll tell you more specifics about that. Otherwise, if you don't have time to wait, I don't know how long this video is going to be, just send me a message on Facebook Messenger or an email to jennifer@artoffreedom.me. That's .me. And just ask me if you're curious about how you might work with me and about the introductory program or about private coaching. Okay, so let's dive into the topic. I've been playing the violin for my entire life, it feels like. I wanted one when I was 2, started playing when I was 4. And I'm sure it all started in my imagination, right? Everything starts in our imagination. Everything starts in the mind. In fact, you cannot, I firmly believe you cannot make great music without your imagination. In fact, you can't make any music without your imagination. And what do I mean by imagination? Well, I have kind of a loose definition. It's probably not what you'll find when you look it up in the dictionary. In fact, I could have done that beforehand, but I didn't. To me, imagination is basically what you're doing in your mind before you execute whatever it is. So it can be a visualization kind of imagination where you literally have images in your mind, like, and actually you don't obviously have to execute on these things. You can imagine right now that you're on a sunny beach in Florida drinking Mai Tais, right? You can imagine that and you may not execute on that immediately, right? If you do, have fun and send me a postcard. So it can be images, visualizing, that kind of thing, and I do that a lot with my students. I find it very powerful. But as musicians, we particularly need to use the skill of audiation, where you're able to hear in your mind what you want to produce through your instrument. And I have very specific ways that I help my musicians to develop that kind of audiation. And the main thing that we do through Primal Alexander is actually the use of these things that we call Awareness Etudes, where to increase your imagination skills, you actually have to be able to get your cluttered thinking, overthinking mind out of the way so that you can clearly intend for what you want without all the extra stuff getting in the way. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's just do a quick experiment right now. Let's explore this a little bit. You can keep your eyes open or you can have them closed, whatever makes it easier for you to visualize something. So if you're a musician, you probably have something that you are looking forward to. If you're a professional, you may have a concert coming up tonight. I don't know. Or you may have a competition, or you might have an audition. A lot of my students actually are preparing for auditions right now, and so is my son. Right now, he went live in my Facebook group for my students and played through his excerpts for his upcoming audition. So think of something that you have coming up. If you're an amateur, you may just be looking forward to playing with some friends in the living room or going to your community orchestra rehearsal. So think of something that's coming up and imagine what that experience may be like. So I'm going to just give you a moment to imagine the best possible outcome. Can you do that? Can you imagine going into that situation and playing your instrument and knocking it out of the park? Can you imagine playing for other people and they are so moved by what you're sharing that they come up and talk to you about it afterwards and thank you? Can you imagine that? If you are going for auditions, can you imagine enjoying your audition experience? What a mind-boggling idea. Can you actually enjoy going to your audition, preparing for it, waking up that morning feeling excited, having to wait because they're behind schedule, which tends to happen sometimes. Can you imagine actually enjoying waiting and thinking through your pieces and, walking? I have Awareness Etudes that I give my students that are very, very useful when you're waiting. You can actually go to my YouTube channel and find one. It's called TheCyCle. Look it up. The title of the video is The Best Alexander Technique Exercise. So you can just go find that and learn that, TheCyCle. That's one of the things that I encourage all of my students to do right before a difficult event. And it's also a daily practice. My students do Awareness Etudes twice a day. And it just takes a few minutes, but they're very, very, very powerful. And they calm down your nervous system. They declutter your mind, get rid of the negative fear-based thinking, and allow you to be more fully and joyfully yourself. So imagine that you have finished this event. It's completed, and it went great, and you had a wonderful time. And the people, maybe you won the audition. What does it feel like? Can you feel how good that feels right now? How does your body feel? And some of you might be thinking, I can't imagine that. And that's okay. Imagination, the way I do it and with my students, it is a skill. And it's a skill that actually needs to be developed. So it's incredibly powerful for performance anxiety. If you started feeling anxious thinking about your event coming up, can you get in touch with that tension? That's the tension levels that are rising. Can you feel, like I'm talking about tension right now and I'm starting to feel tense right here and right here. If you can get in touch with that feeling and not run away from it and not try to change it or fix it, just be with yourself for a moment with some kind of presence and loving kindness and compassion, and then do something called constructive thinking. And I go in depth into how to do this very simple and powerful technique called constructive thinking with my students, and you can do it right now. Also, you can learn it on that cycle video that I talked about on YouTube. But right now, no matter what you're feeling, maybe you feel great imagining what I just suggested, but maybe you do feel you got a little twinge. And if you didn't feel a little anxiety now, think about something that would cause some anxiety. Like, what if you had to perform at Carnegie Hall tonight? It was like, you do this or you die. Can you feel the tension? Whether you're a professional or an amateur, I think most people would feel a little twinge of anxiety or excitement to think about being forced into that situation, right? And again, it's a made-up situation, but if you can imagine it for a moment, can you feel the tension? Again, I feel it here, and it's not very comfortable. Okay, so now as you feel that, can you get curious? Is there a place in your body that doesn't feel anxious or tense? Can you notice, as I'm talking about it, my whole system is calming just a little bit? Get curious about easing in your body. Where is it happening? Where is there no pain? Or if you have chronic pain everywhere, where is there just a place where there's a little bit less pain, or a little less tension, a little less discomfort? That's where we start. And that is your imagination combined with reality, actually. You're getting curious, you're wondering, you're imagining there's such a thing as easing in my body. I wonder where that could be. And as soon as you start to imagine that and wonder about that, something shifts. Can you sense that things in you are calming down just a little bit by wondering about that? And if you have any questions, I love to interact with you. So I can now see all your comments and everything. I'm in the Facebook group on my phone. Golden Hawk, hello. He says, I focus on my little spark of madness. It makes me tingle and get curious. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That little spark of madness or curiosity or excitement or, yeah, what's possible? I'm a big believer in all possibility. Like anything is possible. And if you can make that jump, that leap to, well, maybe it's possible that anything is possible, right? Can you open up to that? If you can do that, you are opening yourself up to imagination, right? You need to be open to possibility, and you need to be able to imagine things that can seem impossible. It could seem impossible that you're going to win that audition that you're going to take next month. But what if it's possible? You need to go with imagining the possible. And this goes for anything in your life, like winning that dream job or having that dream relationship or winning that prize. It's like you need to be able to dream it and imagine it to create it. Most of us use, maybe all of us, use a small percentage of our brains. And it's a pity because the brain is incredibly powerful. Our minds are so powerful, and imagination is a huge part of that power. To be able to imagine what you want, to not think, to have the discipline, the mind control, to not go into the negative thinking that goes against your dream, to just like be with a horse with blinders on. It's like, I want that, I'm going to focus on that, and I'm not listening to that. And that is, we call those thoughts the doubt monsters. I love to talk to my students about the doubt monsters. They're like little thoughts that hover and try to sabotage you. It's you, right? They're not like real things. They're a figment of your imagination, right? So are you going to listen to the doubt monsters that tell you you can't do something? Or are you going to focus on what you want? Essential in your career, in your personal life, in your music making. Let's talk a little bit more about the actual music making. Okay, so most musicians have been educated in the use of the imagination in a certain way. This will probably sound familiar to you. You might have been playing a piece of music and maybe your teacher said, can you make up a story to go with this section of music? What is this like? What's the mood? What's the affect of this? Oh yes, it's a bubbling brook on a summer's day and there are meadows and flowers and everything is peaceful. And of course you get a certain emotional quality to the music when you're kind of thinking that way. I don't actually do much of that personally. I'm sure it was helpful to me as a kid. I was actually quite a dreamer. I spent most of my time reading books, fiction, like not here, somewhere in dreamlands, which is topic for another day. It's not necessarily a good thing. My imagination was kind of wild and trained by books. So I'm sure to a certain point it's helpful to be able to imagine stories to go with the music, but I don't do a lot of that, and I don't actually recommend a lot of it. What's much more important is to train yourself to imagine the reality of what you want. It's like you can imagine a summer's day and a calm meadow like I described, but the reality is that's not happening when you're playing your music. But what is happening is the music. Can you be fully present here and now with the music you're playing and include presence of yourself, your whole body, the flow, the energy, the inspiration that happens when you let go and you allow the music to speak, to sing, to play through you, so that you become an empty vessel, an instrument. You become, we're mostly made up of space, actually. And I was just reading the other day that in science, in string theory, which I know next to nothing about, but I read this and it caught my attention. In string theory, they are discovering that everything is vibrational energy. That there's nothing that's actually solid in this universe. That's mind-boggling, but for a musician, that almost should sound a little familiar because we are dealing with the vibrations, sound vibrations, all the time. Now, I don't want to go too far off the deep end with this, but it's really important to have the concept of you are just an empty vessel, an empty conduit for something magical to come through. I use the word inspiration intentionally because there's a creative spirit, creativity, that spark of imagination. You don't have to believe in God or spirit or any of those things, but we all can accept that there is something special. You can call it love or energy. There is something that can get conveyed through music that's very powerful to connect and communicate between people. My point is that when you get out of the way, when you get out of your own way, when you get the unessential thoughts decluttered, you're decluttering your mind, you're clearing your mind, you're becoming empty. When you become empty in your mind, your body reflects that. And so there's less tension in your body. And you have only appropriate thoughts and appropriate tension. You do need tension to be able to play music, but you need to have tension to speak, to stand, to move, to be awake. There's a certain appropriate level of tension for any activity that you do, but it's flexible tension. It's not stuck tension, and it's not passionate, driven, tight, intense tension. You can have intense passion and let it flow through you and play and be so open and wild and inspired. Again, there's that word. There's a creative energy that we can tap into as human beings, which is very, very, very powerful. But we have to learn how to get the other stuff out of the way. And that's where constructive thinking comes in. And I'm not talking about psychology, constructive thinking, or any other kind of constructive thinking you might have heard of. I'm talking about a very specific way to use the mind, body, self in Primal Alexander. And that kind of constructive thinking allows you to filter for easing within you and around you, and it wakes up your curiosity in a way that integrates everything, so that your internal experience and your external experience become unified, and really there's no separation. When you can tap into that, it's exciting, it's spontaneous, and it's energizing yet relaxed at the same time, so that you can play passionately intense music without excess tension. Tension gets in the way of what you want to express. Even if it feels like you're being very expressive, you are definitely interfering. And you're also setting yourself up for potential injury, which is another topic where imagination is really important. But I'm not going to go into that right now, except to say that if you do have pain, you need to be able to imagine your recovery and think about it a lot. Imagine what it's like to be totally pain-free. And I guarantee you're going to heal faster if you make that a priority, to imagine the ideal situation that you want. Now, some things, are not going to be, really can't heal, but you need to have the ability to imagine it for your system to go in a better direction. So I want to do one more little exercise. We had the visualization of being on of an event coming up, right? And whether you got excited about it or nervous about it, and noticing how that reflected in your body with attention, and then being able to let go of it a little bit by getting curious about easing in the body. And I did it really, really quickly. There's no way you can really grasp the significance of that unless you go a little deeper. And at the end of this presentation, I'll talk about my introductory 5-week program. Registration closes August 20th, so ask me if you want more information about that. Just send me an email or message me on Messenger. My email is jennifer@artoffreedom.me. But right now, I want to talk not about pain or performance anxiety, but about how you can use your imagination, and you must use your imagination all the time when you're actually playing your instrument. And it's not about imagining scenarios like the sunny summer meadow. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But again, I don't do much of that. I think it's even more valuable, much more valuable, to be present with the reality of the present moment, and to be with the music, to be with your body, mind, self, to know how to think to get stuff out of the way so that the music can express that, and then the audience can imagine a sunny meadow if they want, okay? Or if it helps you, do it. But there are just much more powerful, effective things that you can be doing with your mind instead of letting your imagination wander away from what you're actually doing. So what are you actually doing? Again, my work is for all instruments, but I am a violinist, so I'm going to use the violin as my demonstration tool, and it's actually an imaginary violin. Speaking of imagination, I do this a lot with my students. I don't get my violin out that much, but this is my fingerboard, right? And if you're a cellist, you can have a fingerboard like this, right? If you're a pianist, you can have your desk as your keyboard, right? Whatever your instrument is, flute, oboe, doesn't matter. We tend to use our fingers, don't we, when we're making music? So if I want to play the first finger and move to playing the second finger, I have to have a concept of where that second finger is supposed to go. I can't do that if I can't imagine it. And I can't play this note in tune if I don't know what it means for something to be in tune. I need to be able to audiate it. I need to be able to hear it first. This is super important. And this is very, very, very basic, but I work a lot with professionals who really need to go back to these basics too, because maybe they didn't really learn them in a methodical, conscious way. We learn a lot unconsciously, but in the Art of Freedom method and Primal Alexander, we're making so much of what's natural conscious so that you have more, what Alexander said, conscious constructive control over yourself, and therefore over what you're doing. But it's not about thinking about all the specifics while you're playing, not at all. You need to practice certain things, but then you let go of them, and you're hardly thinking at all as you're playing your instrument, and that's when the magic happens. Right? When you get your thinking mind out of the way and you're allowing the creative flow to happen. But you've got to go through the process of learning how to do constructive thinking and how to manage your mind and your body. Otherwise, it's kind of a free-for-all, and you might have a good day or a bad day, and you won't really know why you had a good audition and that other one was bad. You don't have as much consistency, and it's hard to, it's like a gamble. You don't really know when you're going to have a good day, when you're going to have a good performance or not. That's really, 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 really frustrating. If you do everything the same way and then you bomb in the performance and you're like, I don't know why it went so badly. It was so good yesterday, or it was so good in the practice room. You want to learn how to have control over that and be consistent and reliable so that you can really enjoy what you're doing, right? So back to this. If I want to be able to play the second finger in tune, I need to be able to hear it in tune first. If I want to play a run, I need to know where I'm going. If I'm shifting, I need to be able to hear this note from here. So I need to be able to play this, hear the upper note, and get there. And so my point is, there's so much more. You've got to take my class to understand how much more there is to this. But you need to know, it's like having the end in mind. All right, that's a general principle. You have to know what you want. I want to play that high C sharp in tune, and I want it to have a certain tone quality and so forth. You need to know what you want to get it. You need to be able to hear it before you get it. But the mistake that almost all people make is that they're focusing on the hand, the fingers, the body, and they're looking, and it's like, all focus is on that goal and getting it right and getting it in tune. When I do that, all my attention goes there and I pull down, my energy goes down and I get tight and I am interfering with flow. I might get it in tune, but I've lost the flow of the music. I have interfered. I'm no longer that empty vessel allowing things to happen through me. I've kind of usurped the role, and I've become the doer. I'm going to do this and make this happen, and I have control over this, and this is how it needs to be done. My finger needs to be a certain shape, and all those technical things that I've been taught, I need to use those to make it happen. And again, you might get it in tune. However, everything else is suffering to get it in tune that way. The way I teach is all up here. Almost everything you do is up here. You have to be able to imagine it, to hear it, to know what you want. And then here's the big word. You need to trust that your brain is so powerful. It knows how to organize everything that needs to happen in you to make that happen in tune. Sounding gorgeous, with your well-being intact, your freedom intact, your ease intact, with flow, and it's easy. That doesn't happen when you're overthinking and over-controlling body parts and all the stuff, okay? It works when you get out of the way. You kind of program your brain for what you want. You need to have very clear intentions, and most of the work of practicing is honing your intentions, clarifying your intentions. Okay, so you practice and you go here and it's flat. Oh, okay, well, I need to play sharper, right? So your brain gets it's flat and next time it needs to be a little higher. What you don't do is like, oh, it needs to go higher. No, it needs to go higher, happens up here. And then you trust, let go, and you do, this is the key that I teach my students, that is an essential ingredient. You do the constructive thinking that allows you to stay out of the way, right? You do constructive thinking, you're noticing easing, and you go. Oh, it was too sharp this time. No problem, I'm learning. You go back, your brain has new information, you are reprogramming. It's very quick, very simple. I know what I want now. And again, I'm doing my constructive thinking, trusting, getting out of the way, and oh, lo and behold, I played it in tune and it sounded great and no stress, no tension, no nothing. That's just scratching the surface of what I do with my students in order to teach them how to play with effortless ease. And again, our minds are so powerful and we're not using them nearly to the extent that we could be to get what we want in our music and in our lives. And I would love to go into more detail, teach you the Awareness Etudes. Go to the YouTube channel if you haven't found it yet, or if you're in my Facebook group, then go to the I think it's in the featured section, and go to the menu at the top of the Facebook group and you'll see the best Alexander technique exercise that teaches you the cycle that's created by my partner Mia Morales. It's a Primal Alexander Awareness Etude, and it's just the very first one. We have dozens of Awareness Etudes. The cycle is probably the only one that doesn't involve movement, because you're really just learning how to do your constructive thinking. But after that, you start learning how to do movements very simply that have nothing to do with your instrument at first. But once you are able to do constructive thinking and move your arms, your body with simple movements without interfering, there's always going to be subtle excess tension. But you're learning to notice it, and you're learning to respond with constructive thinking so that your system can let go of it. Again, I have my students practice Awareness Etudes twice a day for just a few minutes. It doesn't involve your musical instrument. It's just a few minutes of training your mind-body connection with ease. It's easy. It's about ease, right? It's really simple, but it's essential to how the mind and body connect naturally. It is getting you in touch with natural movement so that then after a while, like in my level 2 course especially, we go in depth into how to approach and lift and play your instrument, whatever instrument it is, with ease. The level 1 course, which is, again, you can register before August 20th, and I'm going to actually give you a discount if you are watching this video. So again, wait until the end of this and I'll tell you that. In the level 1 course, I'm teaching everyone how to do constructive thinking and how to apply it in everyday life, like when you're walking the dog or doing the dishes or whatever daily activities you're doing. If you can bring more awareness and attention and ease and less tension to what you're doing in everyday life from moment to moment, that transfers so that then the next time you pick up your instrument, it's just a little bit easier because you know how to use your primary instrument, your whole self, with more ease. Okay, I think that's about all I'm going to share today, but I hope you see that the way I'm talking about imagination is very comprehensive. I'm not just talking about imagining scenarios, although, again, for performance anxiety, I have a specific way that I help people, and it's very systematic. If you have something you're anxious about, now is the time to start visualizing and imagining what you actually want. If you have performance anxiety, you want to learn more about this, I help people with this all the time. There are very powerful techniques that you can use to help yourself prepare for auditions or upcoming medical procedures if you have something scary coming up. Anything. It'll help you for anything that you're anxious about. So I'd love to share that with you. I'd love to help you reduce your pain, overcome your pain, and maybe if you've had an injury and you want to heal faster, this helps. If you just want to improve your skills and make better music, make great music with ease, learn this process. It is so powerful, and again, it's really easy. By the way, my book should be coming out within the next 3 months. Send your positive vibes my way to help with this book. It's been a very, very long process and the biggest project I've ever undertaken. If you're curious about the book, just as an aside, get in touch with me. I'm putting together a launch team, people who want maybe an advanced copy, who can commit to reviewing it and sharing it when it comes out. Just get in touch. I would love the support and help. And people are reading it already and they're really loving it. So I'd love to share that with you. So just to wrap up, I promised I would tell you about my upcoming introductory course. It's called The Musician's Mind-Body Breakthrough because it really does help people have a breakthrough. In fact, it's guaranteed. Improvement is guaranteed for sure. You will improve through this course, whether you want to have some improvement in pain or performance anxiety or your skills. I guarantee that you will notice improvement or your money back, 100% of your money back. I can offer that because it works. It really does, and I wish all musicians could take this course because the people who go through it, and it's been hundreds at this point who have taken this or a similar course, and the people who've gone through it, they have remarkable results, and I'd love for you to have those too. It's a 5-week program right now. And registration closes August 20th, but you get to choose any start date this fall. So time is not an excuse. Everybody has time to do something that is this powerful and beneficial. So I know people are busy. The start of the school year is kind of crazy for many people, beginning of the new concert season. That's why I'm making it so you can choose whatever date you want to start. The 20th is the last day to register. And if you would like to join and you're watching this, when you reach out to me, mention that you'd like the $100 discount that you saw in the video, and I'll be happy to give you that. I also do offer some scholarships. I have a few openings, just a couple openings left for bigger scholarships. It's always a partial scholarship. So if you're really interested in this, but you have financial difficulties, I enjoy giving scholarships. So just reach out and ask. Otherwise, be happy to take the $100 off. You just need to get in touch with me now so that we can have a little conversation. Tell me if you're a professional or an amateur so I can send you the full description that is best for you. What do you get? It's a 5-week program. You get the level 1 Jumpstart course. And how much time does it take? A lot of people ask me that. It requires you to commit to 5 to 10 minutes daily of the Awareness Etudes I've been talking about. You're supposed to do them twice a day. So like just a couple, in the beginning it's like 2 minutes, right? You do 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the evening. And maybe by the end of the course you're doing 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. You just need to do those consistently and you are guaranteed to improve with this program. They're that powerful. And they're very quick, very simple, very easy to learn, but they go deep. So you get the Awareness Etudes, you get a home action plan, and the self-study course. The self-study course also includes video content. So I'd say every 4 or 5 days, make a little time to watch a half-hour video, approximately something like that. And there's very little reading, just a little bit each time you get new content in the course. So the self-study course is fantastic. People get results just from that, but you also get a bonus private coaching session with me at some point during the 5 weeks. And last but not least at all, you have the option to attend live group classes with me, with my advanced community. We meet every week, a couple times. And if you can't come to those live, everything is recorded. I have a huge archive of classes that you get access to. And there's a private clients only Facebook group. And we are a really special group of people, I can tell you. I love my students and we have so much fun. And it's just always stimulating conversation, great questions. You can ask anything about anything and it all applies because everything goes into your music because you make music with your whole self. So we talk about all kinds of stuff. Most of my students come because they want to improve their skills, right? I've had very elite musicians in my programs who have excellent skills already, but they know that they could play even better, but something is getting in their way. I don't really care what level you're at or what instrument or genre you play, because we're working with the human being, and that's why it's so fun too. We have this diverse group, but everybody is on the same wavelength. We're all using our imaginations and we're curious about personal growth and creativity. So you get to be part of a really, really special group. Whether you can come to live group classes or not, you'll be part of that community and you can interact through the Facebook group. If you have any questions about anything, I'm just going to hop over here, put them into the chat. Golden Hawk says, I've taken it. He took my introductory course, The Musician's Mind-Body Breakthrough that I'm talking about. He says, the difference it made has been remarkable. Thank you for posting that. I really appreciate that. Zamba is here. Zamba says, yesterday I tried imagination techniques off of my cello before and after my lesson. I imagined the fingerboard and my finger spacing at performance and practice tempi. I'm grateful you are helping me build up from what I already do. Excellent, wonderful. Zamba also took my intro program and has really enjoyed that. And Golden Hawk says, yes, he's not an elite performance, and he says it still makes a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely. I have a very wide range of students, which I love. I love it that way. So, yeah, if you have any questions, comments, please, if you are watching this, put a comment onto this Facebook Live. It really helps the algorithm to spread this video. So I hope you found this useful. Email me now, really soon, or use Facebook Messenger. Just ask me for information about the Musician's Mind-Body Breakthrough Program if you are curious, and tell me if you're a professional or an amateur so I can send you the best information for you to read that applies to you. And just do it soon, and don't forget about your $100 discount. If you want that, just mention it, and I'll be happy to extend that to you. Registration closes on August 20th, but you get to start whenever you want this fall. All right, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and lots of love. And please use your imagination and use it for good. Imagine good things in your life, and don't let your imagination go to the other stuff. It's not worth it. It hurts. It gets in the way. And why do that to yourself? If you need help with that, just come to me because I can help you with that. All right, lots of love. Bye-bye.